Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're diving into Premiere Pro and I'm walking you through my full color grading workflow for 2023. Today we're going to be taking this clip from this to this, just like that, pretty quickly. So without further ado, let's dive into Premiere Pro and let's get this video started. All right, so here we are inside of Premiere Pro and this is the clip we're going to be working with. As you can see, it is quite a crazy clip. This is a drone shot I shot back in 2022 in the Italian Alps, in the Dolomites, which is just an incredible part of this world. And to be honest with you, there's a little funny story behind this, because if we just play out this clip, sure, it looks amazing. Just wait for it. I crashed my drone on the other side of this giant lake. If you can see this little house right here, it's not little, it's actually huge, but we are standing under this little area right here, and I had to run all the way around here, up over this thing, and all the way around to the side, and I was super lucky. Just where I crashed it, like just here, was a set of stairs. I could have crashed it anywhere. I could have crashed it here, over here, you name it. But either way, I got super lucky with this. And yeah, this definitely is, it's an awesome shot. It's one of those shots that just look incredible. But then when you match it up with a drone crash at the end as well, I find it super funny. And yeah, luckily it just went straight into a huge pile of snow. No issues at all. So anyway, let's dive into the color grading of this clip. So first things first, let's look at correcting this. So this was shot on the Mavic 2 Pro in D-Log. So first things first, let's add a little bit of contrast and color back to our shot. So the first thing I want to do is definitely lower these highlights. Let's make sure our screen brightness is absolutely maxed out. A little bit more contrast in there as well. Let's dive into the curves tab, and we are going to definitely be dropping the shadows there, increasing the midtones and the highlights, and we don't want the blacks to go too far down. So we are going to raise them just a little bit, and really what this is doing is just adding back life into the image, because when you're shooting in log, you're shooting with a really flat color profile, and of course that's not what you want to be posting. This just looks more or less nearly black and white, but as you can see, just adding a little bit of contrast into the shot is already making it look super good. Now, of course, you can use correction LUTs for this, but I much prefer to do this whole process myself. And the reason being is you have so much more control, especially later on in the color grading process, that isn't baked in some correction LUT. With that being said though, I do have my own cinematic LUTs that I usually use. I'm not going to use them for this video purely for the fact that I want to break down my entire workflow. But if you do want to go and pick them up, save a whole load of time and get the colors that I use on all of your shots, you can do so in the first link in the description. You can use this code at checkout for a cheeky little discount. But with that being said, let's continue on with this color grade. So we are here, things are looking somewhat decent. I think we're gonna have to add a little bit more contrast here. And what we're gonna do here is, because we're pretty much out of the shadow slider here and I don't wanna push the curves anymore, I'm actually going to add another lumetri color effect, and we're gonna drop the shadows just a little bit more, because it was a little overexposed, I can't lie. If we have a look at the before and after, it's a little bright, but it's not too bad, because this was completely cloudy, so there was more or less no detail in the sky to begin with. But anyway, this is where we're starting with. Now, this was shot on, as you can see, a very cold, icy day. So we're just gonna add a little bit of blue into the shot, just cool down the temperature a little bit. It doesn't completely remove the oranges a little bit from these, like the little bit of oranges we have in the mountains, but it kind of just gives a nice icy feel to our shot. And we're gonna do that here as well in the color wheels and match. We're gonna add a little bit of blue into our shadows. We're gonna add a little bit of blue into our highlights, probably a little bit of blue into our midtones as well. We turn that off and on. We're gonna remove the one from the midtones. That's a little bit more evenly balanced. I like the look of that. Okay, beautiful. Now, the next thing we are going to be doing, we're not gonna be going into the color curves just yet. I wanna add somewhat of a vignette on this clip. I think that's looking fairly solid if we turn that off and on. I'm already loving the way this looks. And then we're gonna add another lumetri color effect here. And this is really just getting it to a point where it's usable. You can work with it, and then we can really start playing with it. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna add one of these box masks around the shot. Oh, just make that a little bit bigger, just like that. Perfect. We're gonna add a little feather on this to make sure there's no harsh lines. And as you can see, if you look at the bottom half of the clip and the top half of the clip, the top half is much brighter than the bottom half is. So what we're gonna do is, to make that a little bit more even and even that out, we're just gonna drop the shadows in the top half of the clip, just like that. So adding the mask really helps there. And then if we watch this back, just like that, so that is our after, and this is our before. So sure, it still looks good the way it is, but definitely adding a lot more detail in the mountains back there, just with that mask, just adds a little just adds a little bit of spice, and I'm a huge fan of it. Anyway, with that being said, let's continue on with our grade here. Now that I've got the image to a really nice spot where I'm super happy with it, we're gonna come in here and we're gonna just play around with the curves ever so slightly. So the first thing I wanna do is remove any of these tones in the shot. We're gonna keep the oranges, and we are going to, well, we're also going to remove any greens that might be there. And then I'm actually going to boost up the blues just a little bit, just like that. We're also going to come into the hue versus luma here, and we're going to drop the luminance of the blues. And that's just going to give them a little bit of a darker vibe. As you can see, it brings in a little bit of detail in the sky. Not that there's much up there anyway. And things are already looking incredibly tasty. Now, I know we've already gone into our masking workflow a little bit, but that was really just to correct the top half of our shot. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a radial circle mask, whatever you like, and we're going to put it all the way over this area here. Now, the reason we're doing that is because, in my opinion, this area on the right hand side is just a little bit distracting. So we're going to add our mask again, our feather again, and then we're just going to come up to the top here, and we're just going to increase the shadows ever so slightly, and we're also going to increase the blacks. Not too much. You don't really want to, just isolate one local area and increase the blacks or decrease them, and do the same to the whites because it just gets a little bit not super nice. And then if we have a look here, as you can see, we do, okay, let's remove our crash from the shot. But if you have a look here, as you can see, we are, our mask isn't keeping up with the location we want it to be in. So how we're going to fix that, because luckily we're working with a drone shot, so the movement is really consistent. We are going to put our mask here. We're going to hit mask path, and then we're going to come all the way to the end of the clip. We're going to click on our mask again, if it shows, here we are, and then we're going to move it over our area just like that. And so what that's done is it's added a nice little keyframe. So what we do, if we pull this all the way to the end, because that's where I want it to be, if we now have a look, our mask should pretty much track nearly perfectly. There's a little bit of inconsistency in my movement, but either way, it's more or less going to track completely well. And if we have a look here, it's slow enough, you can't, even if you're just focusing on the right side of the image, you can't really tell that there's a mask moving whatsoever. And then the last one I'm probably going to do is in this bottom little corner here. I don't want it to be too dark. I know we added a vignette before, but I like the way it kind of cleans up these areas, especially on the shot, and definitely down in the bottom as well. But this is probably just a little bit dark for my liking. So we're going to add another circle filter right here, circle mask, whatever you want to call them. And we are going to add a whole bunch of nice feather, and then we're just going to increase the shadows ever so slightly, including the blacks just a little bit. And then we're going to do the same thing. So with the mask path, we click on this little stopwatch here that adds the first keyframe. I'm then going to hit down, which takes me to the end of the clip, but obviously I can't see where I am. So then I'm going to hit one arrow back, click on the mask again, and then actually it's pretty much moved to where we need it to be anyway. So we're going to move it up just slightly, and then I'm going to take this keyframe and move it to the right, because obviously right now we're one frame into the shot. And then if we play this back, it's pretty much, it's actually not tracked that well, to be fair. Let's delete this one. We need to see where it is here. Okay. All right. So we need to make sure we're covering this area just here. Delete this keyframe again, up and over. There we go. Okay. Let's have a look now. Beautiful. Awesome stuff. So looking at this clip here, as you can see, we have stacked, what have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Lumetri color effects on one another. And to be honest, we're going to do, actually, no, we'll come to our second one, which was just dropping the shadows. I want to drop the shadows ever so slightly and actually move into one more mask, last one, promise. And we are going to just make this house stand a little bit more, because to be honest with you, I have a feeling, in my opinion, this is just still a little bit hazy, a little bit faded from the log footage. So we are going to go just like that, maybe increase the expansion ever so slightly. Then we're going to come in here and drop the shadows. I'm also going to decrease the temperature just a little bit, not too much. And then of course we want to make sure this tracks. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, I am super happy with this color grade. Let's watch it back as is. Things are looking absolutely stunning. And then if we turn, this is going to take a little while. If we turn all of these off, as you can see, we are just slowly but surely taking this back to a near black and white image. And it's always crazy when you color grade. I find myself when I'm looking at a shot like this, when I drag it from my drone or my SSD, wherever it is, onto Premiere, I'm like, oh, this looks all right. And then when you end up color grading the whole, the shot, it looks great. Everything's done. It's like, whoa, all right. things looking cool now. And then you turn it all off and you're like, wow, I can't believe where I started. But guys, that's pretty much going to wrap up today's video. This was a little bit more mask heavy than my other Premiere Pro color grading tutorials in the past. I absolutely love using masks, and in my opinion, they're super underrated, especially in Premiere Pro. They don't really stand out. It's not like Lightroom where you have a whole masking tab. So yeah, this is how I would do it. And in my opinion, the results we've just got are incredible. As I mentioned before, guys, I do have my cinematic LUTs linked in the first link in the description. So if you do want to check them out, that'll mean the world to me. And guys, as always, I will catch you in the next one. Peace.